This is how the last Fiesta ST entered the world. It was bold, aggressive, and it definitely wasn't here to play games. This was a car that slayed its competition to become the best hot hatch in its class and arguably one of the best hot hatches of all time. But like all good things, it had to come to an end.
It's okay though because there's a new one, but on the face of it, it looks to have gone a bit soft. Long gone is the aggressive rear end, it's dropped the cylinder, and it could well be mistaken for an ST line. So it's no good then. Well, you know what they say, never judge a book by its cover. So, time to get reading. Well, driving, you know what I mean. Ooh. Are they sure this is a 3-cylinder? So the new ST may have lost a cylinder, but let me tell you, this 3-cylinder 1.5 litre EcoBoost petrol engine really does pack a punch, and it's more powerful than the 4-cylinder it replaces. Well, it is if you take overboost out of the equation. So it produces 197 brake horsepower with 290 Newton meters of torque. That's 50 more than the previous car. This power is fed through the front wheels via a 6-speed manual gearbox, and if you work it fast enough, you will be able to hit 62 miles per hour in just 6.5 seconds. In case you're wondering, that's 0.4 seconds quicker than the last model and 0.2 seconds quicker than the ST200. This car will continue to a top speed of 144 miles per hour. Not too shabby at all for a Fiesta. So it's true what they say then, big things do come in small packages. Now, not only does this car have more torque, but the torque is spread over a wider rev band. So this car feels more linear, it feels a bit more grown up and a bit more refined in the way how it delivers its power. And I must admit, it's not quite as happy to be redlined as its predecessor. This car, once you get it past 5,000 revs, the power kind of drops off a little bit, and there's not really much reward from really ragging this car out.
So, has the new ST given up? Is it ready to retire, put on some slippers and stare longingly out of the window just waiting for death to come? Not a chance.
This car may be more rounded and refined than its predecessor, but my word, it's still a little firecracker. It's fantastic. It still has the ability to get your pulse racing and your smile beaming. This car is as good as it's ever been in the corners, and like the old car, it's got the ability to be thrown into corners with gay abandon. It is so much fun. Better still, Ford has been kind enough to fit this model with the optional performance pack, which means I've got a Quaife limited slip differential for even better grip in the corners. And my word, does it work very, very well. This car is so planted. These Michelin Pilot Supersport tyres are doing a very good job, as is that LSD, of course, that Quaife limited slip differential. This car sticks to the road like chewing gum sticks to your clothes. And you can really feel the car pulling itself around corners. The handling is top notch. It really, really is. Ford, you've done well here. You really, really have. Just throw it in and it will grip and grip and grip. You really need to push this car hard to get any kind of understeer from it. It's a fantastic chassis. It really is. And this car feels nimble as well. It's not the lightest. It's over 1,200 kilograms, which isn't exactly a featherweight, but the front end, it just dips in. It feels like a playful kitten. The Quaife LSD isn't the only thing you get as part of the optional performance pack. You also get launch control. Yes, that's right, launch control in a Ford Fiesta. I never thought I'd see the day, but here we are. And you also get a shift light, just in case that loud revving noise isn't quite enough to tell you it's time to change gear. And in truth, I could take or leave the launch control and the shift light. I wouldn't say they're gimmicky, but do I really need them? No, although I will say the launch control is pretty good fun. So the performance pack may be optional, but what you do get as standard are driving modes, 3 of them to be precise. So you get normal, which is still pretty punchy, don't get me wrong. Sport, which gives you some nice pops and burbles from the exhaust, which is very nice indeed. And you've got race, which Ford is very keen to state is for racetrack use only. Oh, that's no fun. Now, I would say Sport is your optimal setting. Although the car starts as default in normal, I imagine Sport will be where you spend most of your time. The car feels more eager than normal mode, but of course you'd expect that. And like I say, the exhaust makes some wonderful noises, it really does. They say Oreos are more addictive than cocaine, but revving this car, hearing that exhaust, I think that's even more addictive.
So it's a fast car, but a car like this still needs to be practical. This is an area where it's so-so. Like the standard Fiesta, the ST is rather tight in the back and it doesn't have the biggest boot in its class. However, it still has enough space to be a competent daily driver so long as you aren't looking to carry taller adults in the back on a regular basis. However, if it's children that you are more concerned about, it does of course have ISOFIX points so they can enjoy the sporty ride. How much will all of this sportiness cost you though? So, like the previous model, there are 3 trim levels available: ST1, ST2 and ST3. ST1 starts at £18,995 and will give you a 6.5 inch touchscreen with smartphone connectivity, DAB radio and Bluetooth. You also get cruise control, lane keep assist, keyless start, selectable driving modes, 17 inch alloys and sporty Recaro seats plus air conditioning. Pay £1,000 more and you'll get the ST2 model, which is able to add 17 inch alloys in a different design, heated front seats, 8 inch touchscreen, B&O Play sound system, climate control and rear privacy glass. And last but not least, you have the ST3, which is the model I have here, which starts from £21,495. It adds 18 inch alloys, red brake calipers, automatic lights and wipers, navigation, reversing camera with rear parking sensors, partial leather seats and a heated steering wheel. Interestingly, the ST3 doesn't get the B&O Play sound system. It's an optional extra, even though the ST2 gets it as standard. This car does have the B&O Play sound system because it's an option that's been ticked, and that would cost you £350. Speaking of options, don't forget you've got the performance pack. That will cost you £850. I've also got full LED headlights. Those are £600. The full performance blue paintwork, that will cost you £745. And last but not least, I've got blind spot assist, and that's £475. So the car sat here right now would cost you £24,515. The ST3 definitely has some nice features, but like with most car trims, the sweet spot is to be found in the middle. Therefore, I would recommend the ST2 because you'd be saving a bit of money, and I call it the Goldilocks trim. It's not too basic, but it's not too expensive either. I fancy porridge now. But there's no time for porridge, as it's time for the ST to sow its wild oats a little bit more.
Now, it's about time I mentioned this 6-speed manual gearbox, and in truth, it's not quite as good as the last car. Some of you may be shocked to hear that. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still a fantastic and competent tool for changing gear, but it doesn't feel quite as clinical as the last car. It doesn't quite snick into place as nicely, which I'll admit is a little bit disappointing, but it's a very small fly in a very, very big ointment. Pedal placement is pretty good for hill and towing. Yes, the throttle is a bit lower than the brake pedal, but you can still hill and tow pretty well. Now, unlike some hot hatches, which are able to give you an automatic rev match function, the Fiesta doesn't have it. But you know what? That's fine by me. To quote a line from Skyfall, sometimes the old ways are the best. And in this case, yes, it's definitely right. The steering has a more satisfying weight compared to the old car. I prefer this steering wheel. It feels a bit more chunky. It's a bit nicer in the hands. Okay, steering communication still isn't at an all-time high, which is one small criticism of its predecessor, but it's still really direct and it's still fantastic to use. It really, really is. Now, another complaint that people had about the previous car was the fact that the driving position was a bit too high and you felt like you were sat on the car rather than in it. In this car, I'm delighted to say Ford has addressed the issue and you feel much more hunkered down in here. These seats are as good as the old ones, if not better. They offer a fantastic blend of comfort and support. The brakes are also strong as well, which is pretty good because this car can build up speed pretty quickly.
Now, for those of you concerned about fuel economy, you will be pleased to know that the Fiesta ST should be rather frugal. Well, frugal for a hot hatch. On a combined run, it offers 47.1 miles to the gallon, but that's if you drive this car sensibly, which, believe me, is pretty hard to do. And this engine is also able to run on 2 cylinders when it's cruising for better efficiency. And in my experience, I was able to get 41 miles to the gallon when I drove the car reasonably sensibly, but floor it and you'll soon see MPG plummet to low 30s. In regards to CO2, this car produces 136 grams per kilometre, meaning for the first year of VED you'll pay £205.
As an overall package, the ST is once again in its own class, league of its own. Now at this point you may think that I'm being paid off by Ford, or you may think that I'm just a complete fanboy, which, you know, I must admit I am a fan of fast Fords, so let me balance it up a little bit. This car is fantastic, it really is. However, it's not quite as raw as its predecessor. What Ford has done with this car is to make it a bit more rounded, a bit more refined, which is great, but it has lost a little bit of its character that the previous car had. Now, it's still exciting and it's still thrilling, but it doesn't feel quite as edgy, but it's still a riot to drive. It really, really is. As an overall package, it's definitely a better car. It's more powerful, it's a little bit more comfortable, it's more refined. The inside is so much nicer, so much nicer. Ford set themselves a very difficult task when it came to replacing the last ST, and to make life even harder for themselves, they downsized the engine. But you know what? It's worked. This car is simply fantastic. Yes, it's not quite as raw as its predecessor, but it'll be easier to live with, and it's still a real blast. Right, I'm going for some more. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give it a massive thumbs up. If you are subscribed, don't forget to click that bell icon so you get notified every time I make a video. And if you aren't subscribed, guys, what are you waiting for? Be sure to subscribe for more car obsession. Right, how much petrol's left? That'll do.